GG, it is your WCS Winter of Champions.
자, 이번 세 번째 만남에서 자열전 우승은 대기록을 채웁니다.
Yourself into a corner, and he taps out. Soon done it. He's done it soon.
이제 GS 슈퍼터너티 우승을 차지합니다.
Cyril is just too damn powerful. And Cyril is going to flawless victory his way.
우승 최초의 절구승자 됩니까? 그 이름은 다크 방영호.
Rangers doing it, Maynard. He's doing it. He's trying to GG. It's done. The king has been vanquished. The 5 WCS streak is over.
진해 그리닉스 러브 이병렬 우승.
Down again in the WCS final. GG. One more time. One more trophy.
최고의 자리에 올라서는 방정호 선수.
It's been a full day of PvZ here for Group D, and we get to see Elazer exhibit a different brand of PvZ when it comes to our previous series and maybe even going into the next one as well. Welcome back to the analysis desk. My name is Kyle Laris, and to my left-hand side are Tosis and Tasteless joining me here with Elazer now being able to vanquish Neeb in the previous series, bringing something with a bit more punch throughout the mid-game, I think.
Yeah, he's playing a very different style than a lot of the other Zergs that we've seen play throughout this week. So it's actually really quite refreshing watching his approach to the matchup.
It's where a lot of his strengths have lied, I think, throughout a lot of his PvZ in the past, I think, Tasteless.
I couldn't agree more. This series was... It's tough, man, watching my boy Neeb take a beating like that, but Zerg right now, whether it's Nidus or Broodlord Infest or even some of these really aggressive Roach Ravagers attacks we're seeing here, it's tough for the Protoss to take it on.
The full package, one would say.
Yeah, he definitely can kind of do anything, but his style is generally one that's a little bit more aggressive.
Sure.
But the one thing that I really feel like is that we're seeing a lot of freestyling out of Elazer overall. So even though, Trap is sitting there with his team, with the coach in Air Green Wings, with Rogue, kind of analyzing these games, like you don't just blind counter something like that,
Sure.
Yeah, he's got a very, very fluid style, I'd say, compared to a lot of the other Zergs. With the other Zerg players that we've seen so far, it's usually one specific type of approach that they are able to take the player down with, but Elazer seems very comfortable kind of maneuvering from different techniques in each game.
This, of course, was the moment where Elazer decided to just completely smash down this location through those choke points, which technically can be blocked off by just 2 force fields. One vanished to go off towards the end, but it's a little bit too late when you've lost that much economy, I suppose.
Yeah, this was kind of a painful one because it felt like Neeb actually got himself strategically into a great spot, but he wasn't looking at those bridges at that moment.
Yeah.
His attention was elsewhere, but again, that's because of Elazer. He had been so busy harassing everywhere that he just pulled Neeb apart in that way.
Yeah, and by the time you get to this position when you've got his carriers, when you're that far behind after getting that kind of carrier army, you're running into this Infestor Broodlord army, which doesn't really work out tasteless.
Yeah, especially with Neural Parasite and everything else, it's very, very difficult to deal with. Throughout the entirety of today, it's been Neeb trying to figure out how to adapt his Zergs, and it seems like once he thinks he's come up with something, a major alteration happens in play style, and the Zergs immediately are able to counter it again.
We're back to the Nidus here for game number 3, where he was able to hold on barely after this mammoth fight.
Yeah, I thought actually for a little bit he might be able to survive this, but we see that these 2 Robos, one of them got unpowered, and the difference between 1 Immortal and 2 is huge. And maybe if they had come out here, the game would have gone on for longer, but yeah, I mean, losing this tech, and then again, this is another thing that's been happening with Neeb as well, whether it was Templar Archives or Robos getting sniped. Once that happens, you immediately lose the ability to actually directly address a push, especially Roach Ravager.
But this was a great hold, no
Yeah.
doubt about it. Probably the best hold of the tournament thus far. Really well microed there from Neeb, and it felt like, okay, he's really starting to fight back here against Elazer.
Yeah, definitely so. Eventually is able to push across the other side of the map after all of these force fields, a few trickle coming out from that Nidus Swarm to finish the day off. And then we get into game number 4, of course, here, where Elazer finally rounds things out.
Yeah, you know, this one was a little bit more weird. It seemed like he was faking a third, and then he kind of took the third and had a very weird number of probes at 50. I feel like he was just really trying to sell this base and act like he was going for macro. But unfortunately for him, this gave Elazer the time he needed to get out an army to hold on against the push.
Tough as well when you're doing something like this and you lose yourself the Warp Prism Tasteless. It's taking a lot of the wind out of the sails.
Oh, I mean, at that moment, almost always the rush is done. You have no way to reinforce. I mean, one of Protoss's strengths is that wherever they're attacking, they're able to immediately warp units in with that, making their pushes basically a lot of times the best in the game. But yeah, you lose the Warp Prism, then there's no way to recover.
Elazer keeps himself alive, and he will be moving on down, all the way down there, over to the decider match going up against Trap. And that is our next fixture and our final fixture as well of the round of 16. Don't forget, after the round of 16 has completely concluded, we'll break down that game and then we'll go to a short break. And then we will do the bracket reveal later on at the end of the day. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Gentlemen, going into Trap versus Elazer now, what are your expectations? Because obviously, Trap is a different Protoss player compared to Neeb, and even in the interview there with Elazer, he acknowledged that as well.
Yeah, I think that Trap is favored here. We saw him already beat Elazer today, of course, but I think that Trap in general is someone who plays a pretty safe style, so it's going to be hard to catch him off guard with some of these crazy pushes that Elazer has done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Trap's mid-game pushes against Elazer earlier, they looked unstoppable.
Definitely gives Trap a good opportunity as well. We saw he was actually sat with us in the back watching that previous series, and
Was not thrilled.
Well, true, but there's been a ton of PvZ today for him to kind of look at, break down, see exactly what Elazer's been doing, etc.
I think one of the bigger strengths here for Trap is going to be that he's on a team with so many good players, and so there's probably a lot of ideas they've all been sharing about how to try to take on a Zerg player like Elazer, but as we were mentioning earlier, Elazer has really switched into so many different styles. I think the biggest challenge is going to be to predict what kind of approach Elazer is going to have each game.
And of course, he did defeat him in that 3-1 just at the start of the day. Let's see if history will repeat itself here after this series. So that is it. It's our final series of the day to find out who is our last member of the round of 8. It's Trap going up against Elazer.
The final match of Group D. The last 2 players remaining in the round of 16, fighting for that final spot in the quarterfinals. It's a big Protoss versus Zerg to finish the day. A rematch of our first match. I am Pick. Joining me is Nathanius. How are you feeling for this one, mate?
I gotta say, it's been a strange day watching a lot of these PvZs, Pig, but I definitely have to lean towards Trap just a bit. You know, mechanically, we know him to be just such an excellent player, and based off the results at the start of the day, well, I mean, they speak for themselves, right? He's already done it. And as good as we know Elazer to be, I'm not sure. We didn't really see him go for some of the styles that Rogue was breaking, and if you can't execute those, I'm not sure how you're going to be able to beat a guy like Trap.
Yeah, the difference in the Oracle control, I think, a big differentiator.
Yeah.
That first series today, those Oracles were a deadly factor. Let's see if he can do it again. We're going to dive into this series. And And down here in the bottom left-hand side in the red, the Protoss player, the favorite coming into this series. Can he make it out? He is.
Jin Air Green Wings. Trap.
Trying to keep us from 6 Zergs in the round of 8. His opponent in the northeast, the blue Zerg player, he is.
Ago Esports. Elazer.
The team name makes me a little hungry, Jared. Just a little.
Ager?
You don't have those in Australia.
Yeah, I'm like, is this like a fast food joint in America? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea what we're talking about, but all right. A little bit of the cultural...
It's a waffle. It's a waffle,
It's a
Jared.
waffle?
They're
Oh.
waffles. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. When you don't have time to actually cook, basically. It's like the Hot Pocket of waffles, pretty much.
Nice.
World of Sleepers, though. Big map, right? We talk about it's a bit hard to finish games on this, but I feel like we've, in the last couple of matches, it's been mostly aggressive builds on this map coming out of the Zergs.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Well, I mean, if we've seen the strength of Elazer in his early series as well as against Neeb, he's slapping down these unupgraded Immortal pushes. You know, if you're coming in with just Immortal Sentry off the back of an Oracle opening, he's done very well against that, as did Rogue in his series against Trap. These are gigantic maps, and I think the players are scouting very well. They're reacting very well. I'd like to see Trap play something with a little bit more depth to it. I think his first series against Elazer, he had a lot of cool openings, but I mean, you're being forced to play him again. It's another best of 5. How many kind of funky little twists do you have? Obviously, their previous map in this series at the start of today, it was a Charge Zealot drop that opened things up, had a really cute pull off gas. Apparently, it was Patience who first invented that build, but I don't think we're seeing it here as a Stargate is going down. And I mean, the final games of their series, Trap dominated with his early Oracle harass. He just got way ahead against Elazer through Oracles alone. Yeah,
that control from the Protoss been a bit of a story, right, for PvZ the last few months as far as like builds that we've seen pop up. The 3 Oracles.
Yeah.
Of course, we did see that not work so well against Rogue earlier. The Zerg players that have been able to execute that Nidus Swarm host strategy well. It's downright painful to watch Protoss try to go up against that in a macro game. He's just being slowly suffocated by the contain that the Zergs are able to put on. So I'm wondering if it means we're going to see a little bit more of the aggression. But if you watched Neeb's series, he didn't rely quite as much on that type of style. We saw some Nidus play, but not really with the Swarm host from Elazer.
You know, Rotterdam was saying to Trap earlier, he was saying, hey, if you're worried about Nidus Swarm host, 2 Stargate Phoenix, do it. He was really encouraging Trap.
But you have to get the +1, mate.
Yeah, so you gotta get the +1 upgrade. The thing is, I think Trap now, he's seen so many of Elazer's EVPs. We haven't seen Nidus Swarm host out of him. We've seen Ravager Queen push across the map. We've seen Nidus like roach attacks. Elazer has not shown himself as a Nidus Swarm host player. His pattern here in ZVP is play a very safe roach opening. If he sees Stargate drones straight up to 66 drones, like 3 bases fully saturated as quickly as possible, and then he goes into Hydra Bane off a pack of safety roaches. And it's always just Hydra Bane. His Broodlord tech is very slow. So if you are playing to that mid-game stage, I feel like you just need to make sure you've got enough units out to match him in the mid-game. And you're actually not on as much of a timer as you are against these other Zerg players that rush the Broodlord and Fester out.
Yeah, and I wonder if, to some degree, it boils down to, as his Oracle comes in, the Spore Crawler on the south side of that mineral line will enable him to get 4 drones killed. But as I was going to say, I wonder if that comes a little bit out of the fear of the late game, that you're hoping the Protoss wants to attack into you, so you stick onto that Hydra Bane, which is going to be amazing defensively, right, against a lot of those types of attacks.
Absolutely. It's a wall. It's almost impossible to actually force your way through a Hydra Baneling player, because they can spread out on creep defensively. Now, if they try to attack into you, Storm's amazing. It totally stops Hydra Bane in its tracks because they clump up as they come forward. But, hey, this harassment's been going pretty well. That Phoenix there, going to disable that once again. We find a base with only 1 queen in it. 4 more workers.
This Oracle's doing him dirty, Pig.
Phoenix did fall, and that Oracle just barely escaped. So, you know what? This is not... I was going to... Oh. Oh, he's doing the Queen Ravager push again. I was about to say this is not the end of the world because, you know, he should be still up in the work account. And then I looked at the workers and went, oh my, Elazer.
He's not building drones.
Yeah, he's done with drones for this game. I mean, the thing is, he's already down to just 36. If he loses another 5 or 6 workers, that's going to be a bit rough. He's got that rich gas geyser, so it's just a 2 gas push. And he's just going to make about 10 Ravagers, non-stop lings. The Queens are already marching across this map. Trap needs to figure out this is happening. He's going to go in with his Oracles one more time. Lings here looking for a cancel on this 3rd base. 5 more workers going down. Elazer's economy is so small right now.
He's got to realize that there's no drones actually mining minerals on that base.
Yeah, he canceled his 3rd.
Starting the shield batteries.
He's just going to chill here and defend. Now, one of the mistakes Neeb had, I think, is he moved a bit too far forward in the choke point, took the fights a bit too early. I think you've got to be so patient as Trap here. Just make plenty of sentries. He should already have his Cybercore rebuilding in the back of his base. And just build Immortals. You can add some stasis traps maybe as well, but generally just chill out behind your wall in. Get as many units as you can. And I think he's got enough of a heads up. He should be able to hang on here.
He's going to actually take a little bit of a forward posture here by this ramp, which I think is a little bit dangerous. Gets a stasis trap on quite a few Zerglings, though. Now retreats behind the wall, and of course, if you are the Protoss, you can't really do much in this situation other than let him break through it and try to bait him through that choke point.
Ah, yeah. So I like the DTs, realizing your opponent doesn't have a lair at all. That'll be a good way to like make sure you survive against this. Cybercore only now rebuilding, so his Cybercore's down. He can only build Zealots and Zealots right now, and Immortals. Lots of Zealots starting to warp in to help with these Zerglings. Good force fields, very patient on those. Oracles come forward and eliminate a lot of the Zerglings. Good pullback by Elazer, but he actually snapped one of the Oracles with the Biles.
Really good bile there. I mean, good spread. He's been hold position with the Immortals, not moving them forward, but there are so many Ravagers and Zerglings with this army. Shield batteries stagger back quite far, but they are starting to deplete on energy, and he is in a little bit of a situation where he can put that pressure on there, but with the Zerglings gone, the Ravagers are starting to go down. Trap defending this beautifully, Pig.
The Immortals stand strong there. The sentries, a few of them still alive. He's going to try and rebuild that wall. These Zealots have worked wonders against the Zerglings. Even though losing the Cybercore seemed bad, Zealots are the best unit for dealing with those Zerglings flooding in the DT Shrine.
Oh, is this just going to end if he warps in DTs on this army? Well, I mean, the attack has to end, right?
He has to go home, but Elazer's economy is so small. He is all in right now.
Oh, great force fields to grab him there at the last second. GG Trap deals with that attack very effectively. I feel like the breakdown you gave of the difference between this and Neeb, very quickly, that's, yeah, no, it was just that, right? He didn't push out too far, didn't overextend. He took a lot of blows, but he had something like 6 or 7 shield batteries there.
So many.
He just weathered the storm.
I like how far back those shield batteries were as well. So one of the problems there for Neeb was Neeb's robotics was out in front, and it was kind of in range of those Ravagers without them entering the choke.
He killed it early.
Yeah, so he kind of felt forced to build shield batteries further forward, and because of that, Neeb actually didn't have as much space to maneuver and pull back and forwards. He was blocked by his own structures. Trap here, he's just seen this strategy out of Elazer. Really great building placement, good pullbacks. Those force fields were legendary. The Oracles kept coming in and hold positioning, so they wouldn't go after the Queens. They just massacre the Zerglings and Ravagers. Really amazing control from Trap.
Gotta love that Oracle retention. Been a big thing we've talked about, but it does help so much when he force fields those Lings in. Nothing is going to cook those Lings up better than some Pulsar beams, Pig.
Yeah, it does so much damage so fast. And I mean, it's a secret to his success, right? They call him the Wing Commander for a reason. That man on the left-hand side of your screen. Let's see what he's going to do in map number 2. Down here in the bottom right-hand side, a decisive Game 1 victory. Can he carry it through to Game number 2? He is.
Jin Air Green Wings. Trap.
Facing off against the Blue Zerg in the northwest, he is.
Ego Esports. Elazer.
Here on Winter's Gate. Cool stuff, by the way. It's fun, right? I don't know how many times you've been able to come out here and work with this awesome production team, but it's been a bit of a blast to get all the cool effects.
Oh, it's a dream come true, you know, coming out to work here with the guys that make the GSL happen. It's the
been
shows
casting for a long time, but so we get to nerd out actually being
We
here
do.
with all the GSL memes, the deep voice guy doing the intros. It's just awesome. Forge opening though, Pig. Do you think we're gonna see cannons here?
Yeah. I mean, already I think as a lazy, you're like, uh-oh. Yeah. Gonna bring one drone down. Of course, just gonna wall off with 2 more pylons here. This is the economic cannon rush. It was used on Disco Bloodbath. Immediate cancel from Elazer, and Trap says, you know what? I don't even need to build a cannon. I've already achieved what I wanted. He's just gonna go straight for a Nexus behind this. This is awesome. Oh, he's actually gonna commit to it now.
Well, he's got drones. He's got quite a few drones off the mineral line, so he is. Oh, you got to be careful. I feel like I've had nightmares of like Printf or like Florencio like blocking those drones in with buildings too.
In with a gateway, yeah. Like you trap them in and then you just leave. You're like, I don't even need to get cannons up. Those drones can't mine for a while, man. He lets the hatch go down, but his own Nexus and Cybercore have started behind this. You know, a good opening for Trap. Just cancels it, wastes a lot of mining time from those drones. Elazer
Did he not
calmly
get...
going back to it.
Oh, he didn't. Yeah, and he just starts an Overlord too, so he was a little bit blocked for a second there. Has to build the Extractor and the Spore to start the Queen. So putting on some pressure to Elazer is Trap early on in this game, but Zerglings are going to come out, and that means little Proberto will have to head home.
Roberto. Yeah, he did a good job, man. One probe there just intimidated a lot of damage out of the Zerg.
I feel like we saw some cannon rushes where we probably had a little too much committed the last couple of days. Multiple pylons and cannons just for a hatch kill that didn't get too much.
You know, I think a lot of players get so obsessed with getting that robo or that gateway on the front, right, to build Stalkers or Immortals there. And this is just a much more laid-back cannon rush, just looking to intimidate the opponent, get the cancel on the hatchery, and then back off.
So how do you feel about the Stargate follow-up then? You think you just go to this ye old standard 3 oracles then?
He's so comfortable right now. Trap, especially after that previous game, is like, I want to see everything. My oracles are doing damage so reliably. Elazer, I wouldn't mind just a really generic macro game out of him here. I would love him to just have, you know, go up to 5 or 6 queens. The very first map of today's broadcast many hours ago was these two. Elazer really deflected the oracles so well. It wasn't until all 3 of them got together that they got a significant amount of workers. By that point, Elazer's economy was so big, he just brushed it off. It was water off his back. He did not care, and he was able to build up. So I want to see Elazer with that same good anti-air defense, great droning, push that economy. On Trap side, very happy with what I'm seeing. Clearly confident.
A lot of probes.
And this is his baseline style, right? And it's good to see a player just saying, you know what, let's play solid macro. This is the style I'm confident with. Don't need any tricks here. Solid and standard. Let's finish it that way.
Yeah, and I like what I see out of him. We have the Oracle first crossing the map. It's going to mean nothing really here at this third to be done. There is a drone that's about to pop. Could try to get it, but maybe looking towards that natural, or...
Yeah, it takes one there, and it's going to take out a Zergling.
I guess he's probably a little bit more focused on waiting for the follow-up Oracle. Doesn't want to... That's the thing, is like that level of patience to be able to say, a drone and a ling or two, like, I think that economically I'm in a good enough place where I shouldn't force it if I don't really need to force it.
Well, in this map, there's not enough dead space on the edge, right? So if you go deeper there, most of your shields is already gone, you're kind of saying, well, you've already got so much warning. Surely you're going to pull the drones away before I even get there. I'm going to be flying over a Spore Crawler. Like, I'll get one more drone, and if I'm lucky, I keep the Oracle alive deep in the red. Like, that's not really worth it. So, like you said, the experience from Trap, he's just calculated. He says, no, don't need to dive there. He's going to come in one more time here. Does get 1, 2, 3 drones. Good defense there by Elazer. So yeah, this time around, very happy with Elazer's defense, and he's just continuing to just pound out large numbers of drones. Do have to worry about those Adepts. I think he spotted them coming across the map. I'd like to see a handful of Zerglings added into that production tab to make sure he can handle those. We have seen the Adepts pulling Queens out of position. That's been the secret to Trap's success in some of these games.
This is quite nice for Elazer, though. He's able to quickly get the Zerglings onto the third base, forces a fast cancel. Based on what we see behind this for Trap, he's actually got a good amount of resources in his bank, so he wasn't really dumping anything into like a gateway explosion. It feels like he does want to take that economic move forward. Will boot up an Immortal in +1 attack, but 3 drones picked off so far, and possibly going to shade at least 1 into the main and get some scouting. Sees that lair timing, which is also quite nice.
Oh, and even
takes
gets
another
one
drone.
More. Nice micro from Trap. Shoots, pulls back from the Queens, goes in, gets the last shot. Really nice play. Now, Elazer, he's done pretty good, though. Canceling the third was big. If he gets another cancel, if he gets the sentries, that would be huge. Getting us around on those Adepts. Oh, man, the 2 sentries up against the gas actually defending themselves very well. Good force fields. Oh, my. Only 1 sentry falling in a bit of energy. Fantastic micro from Trap.
It's a really good save. Big Daddy Immortal coming out to support that too in a nice way, Pig. We have that lair finishing. The Roach Warren is completing as well, so 9 of them are going to pop out, but I don't really feel like Elazer's in a position to try and go for a big attack. He would run straight into Immortals with +1, and now a bunch of gateways being added. This Zergling seeing all these gates finish, I mean, that should tell you, hey, I don't think you're going to be able to bust the Protoss open anytime soon.
He just spotted the second forge, and that's very important. I'm not sure if Elazer noticed, but 2 forges coming out of Trap, a really cool build order, heavy on the upgrades. That makes me think maybe gonna skip Storm, maybe gonna go for like just mass Immortals, you know, Archon charge lot, and then you can also do a lot of Zealot backstabs is the way you make that style work. The armor upgrades scale really well with both Immortals versus Hydralisks, but especially Zerglings versus Zealots.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of do these backstab attacks, the first fastest responding units are almost always Zerglings. That's where you end up with a Zealot versus Zergling fight. In a front-on engagement, Zealots really can't stand their ground. Banelings just blow them all up. So it's all about creating harassment, backstabs, and playing a real ground-pounding sort of army. I love this style from Trap.
Yeah, seeing well-upgraded Zealots, we know how powerful they can be. All matchups, that armor against the Zerglings, how fast they strike, and the Speed Overseer comes through. There's nothing really new to see with this. The move into charge has begun very naturally, reminded again of the Forge and a Templar Archive. So he's not trying to make some sort of weird quick transition or anything of that sort. And back home we have Dropper Lord, possibly try to do a little bit of Bane Rain, as well as the melee upgrades, speed. Still feels like we were, okay, I was going to say, it feels like we weren't going to have that focus on tech, but he is grabbing an Infestation Pit a bit faster than we've previously seen Elazer go for it.
Yeah, I think upon seeing the second forge, realizes this game will go a little bit longer. Triple Oracle still around. So much energy on them. That's going to be endless revelation as this game heats up. I love the way Trap preserves those Oracles so consistently. And that Phoenix as well, just being so annoying. It's going to get another Overlord. That's like its third. Oh, good transfuse does save it.
No, that Phoenix definitely went to work this game. And, oh my goodness, he gets away.
You're kidding me.
Wow.
And he wants the Zergling drop as well, so that Phoenix a very useful tool as this game progresses. We've got an Immortal pressure coming out through the middle. Hive and Spire starting for Elazer. So, Broodlord tech is on the way. Elazer, though, is steadily going to fall very far behind on upgrades. Just a single Evo pumping out +1. I feel like Trap here, he's got great tech, great upgrades, awesome army, but he is lacking a 4th base. We're at the 9-minute mark, no 4th base for Trap. That means he is down on the economy quite significantly. And Elazer, I think, you know, in not a bad position at all in this game. It's just, where do we go from here? I mean, Fleet Beacon makes me think Tempests, but I'd much prefer Carrier Tech out of Trap. We're going to have to see exactly which direction he goes.
We do have an Overlord drop headed towards that name. Stalkers warped in, possibly expecting Banelings. It is Zerglings. However, does not immediately unload, so only a few of them are going to come out. Stalkers will be able to clean it up without too much issue. I think we just had a revelation in the northeast side. Oracles are flying back over there for a little bit. But he's also going to add in another robotics facility, so still wants to make sure that he has every possible card in play for this late game. And as the Fleet Bacon finishes, it's just going to be that mothership while he starts that 4th Nexus Pig. So still thinking about this ground pounding sort of army. A little bit of tech mixed in, but not the big jump into that just yet. However, the Greater Spire is on the way, so an investment into additional Stargates. Okay, well, he's going to start him up now.
Yeah, I mean, this is giving Elazer a lot of time. He's added the second Evo. He's going into Infestors. Lots of Banelings here to defend against this army that's sharking around the map a little bit now. You got to watch those High Templar. Make sure they do not get caught out. He spotted the Corruptors. Great scouting, as always, here for Trap. Stasis Traps also going to catch a pack of those Banelings. They're still looking for the Sentries and High Templars, but great force field usage. Elazer looking like he wants to pull the trigger on this.
Off creep is going to be risky. He is going for a spread, but some of those Banelings still trapped in time, as you stated.
No.
Great storm on that bright pack of Banes.
Go home, Elazer. No. You can't make this work. You cannot make this work from this position. He's going to lose a bunch of Banes to Storm. He will try to get a link counter attack on the southern side, but cannons and batteries are ready.
Those Stasis Swords really doing a great job trapping and just slowing down these units, no pun intended, as the Greater Spire is going to finish, but Trap looks like he is ready to meet a transition. Tempests are coming in as well as +1 attack, but how far forward is he going to go on creep?
He doesn't have an observer. I really wish Elazer had set up a Baneling flank. I think this army could get sandwiched. There's not much force field energy just left. Obviously, he wants to scare him, but before the Broodlords are here, but I think that was a little bit of a dangerous move from Trap.
That's one way to get rid of photon cannons, but not able to actually reach the economy. And the hallucinated Phoenix saw the Broodlords, ran straight into all of them morphing together. Neural Parasite is on the way. Actually, the hallucination still pretending to shoot at those Broodlords. So gotta be really careful stepping this forward on creep. I completely agree with you. The possibilities for flanks are dangerous. Storm is really going to show its value when you can fight in choke points, but the more open it gets, the more dangerous it becomes. Big counterattack, trying to pull the army back on the south side while he continues to add more infestors, +3 melee, getting +1 flyer attacks, but these roaches and Zerglings should all die.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a good trade here for Elazer. A little bit wasteful. Lings do run in and try to find the High Templar, but the slow zone does protect. And you know what? Trap here, just sitting on 69 workers. It's not a gigantic economy, but he's being efficient. He's adding Tempests in now. His ground upgrades continue to be awesome. Just now starting +1 flyer attack and kind of adding that into the mix. Burrow +3 melee. I mean, Elazer is playing a very nice late game. He's got Overlord spotting all over so we can see counterattacks coming his way. He's massing Spore Crawlers to help support this. As this Infestor count grows, this does get a little bit scary here. Trap very deep on creep, a big fungal. Bile's going to combo with that. Does manage to hit the Immortal a few times. The Broodlords, there we go.
Gotten health damage done yet, but the Revelation onto the Broodlord seems like he was able to connect that, so Tempest pop a few shots. You have Zealots fighting Lings on the west side of the map as he does try to get his own harass game going. They're going to run into the field of Spores, which is going to at least be a nice deterrent to buy some time for those drones.
Those 2/2 Zerglings. I mean, right now there's no Corruptors, which is why these Tempests in this Mothership are actually just picking away at the Broodlords. And Elazer's kind of running out of space a little bit. He sent all of his Zerglings down south to try and defend. He just ate a big Psystorm right there. But a big Fungal Growth goes down as well. Some feedback, some Storms landing on top of these Infestors. And there we go, one Tempest does fall. But there's a lot of ground army down in that Broodlord count, a little low. Elazer here, he's very afraid of losing those pieces. He's going to go for a Zergling backstab. It's a brave maneuver, but it might just be the perfect one to take advantage of Trap's army all being up here on the north side of the map.
Takes a Neural Parasite, gets the Mothership, immediately drops Time Warp, stolen Archon, he's going to pull that mama into the Spore Crawlers. Still need to be careful, though. The Broodlords have been really chipped away at, Pig, by these Tempests. The vision he's had has been fantastic. Steps off creep, maybe a little bit too far as the Infestors drawing out of energy, but we've got 10 probes going down. Back at the third base with that counterattack. Trap wants to try and force the issue on this base.
2 more Broodlords on the left-hand side, just finished morphing. They may be the saving grace of Elazer. He's down to just 4 Broodlords, but there's so few units for Trap. Those armor upgrades working wonders. The +2 armor, meaning these Protoss units just do not die as quickly as Elazer would expect. He's going, how tough is this ground army? These units just will not go down.
Awkwardly enough, those slow, tasteless zones slowing down the Broodlords on the defense, making things incredibly awkward for Elazer trying to hold that north base, but he did do quite a blow of damage back towards Trap. The defensive Dark Shrine, always nice to have in these scenarios, but this game is getting mighty scrappy.
Yeah, I mean, Trap took such a huge hit to his economy. Yeah, it's tough for Elazer losing a hatch, but he's still on 4 base. He's still on 75 workers. That Zergling backstab and even burrowing a Zergling on the glass.
It looks so weird with the doodad on this map.
He burrowed on the glass. Like, I'm not sure how that works.
How does it possible?
Zerg is incredible.
They told me Zerg was too strong, and that right there is what put me over the edge, Pig. That right there is what did it for me.
I think the 4th wall just got broken there. The Zergling somehow burrowed into the glass. This, of course, denying that expansion from being rebuilt. Trap, he's still got a kind of high-tech ground army, but he never built that gigantic economy. So losing this base was so disastrous. Like,
really good usage of the Lings. That +3 melee paying off in spades.
Yeah. I mean, if he didn't have +3 melee, it'd be really bad as well. A lot of the time, I think Zergs as well get used to being +2, +3 melee versus no armor upgrades.
Yeah.
Like Stalkers, Archons, all these units go down so quickly. I mean, the armor upgrades aren't helping the Archons right now.
That's actually a really good point, because you don't normally see the Protoss do double forge, right? Protoss doesn't usually have those.
You can misjudge fights really badly because you're just not used to it. You look at, oh, I can win this fight, and you're like, wait, those units are just a lot tougher.
The Zealots are dummy thick.
Zerglings are so good in the late game here as well. Such a fantastic counterattack unit. The Tempests and Mothership, I think these units are too expensive for Trap right now. I think this is really the wrong decision. We're seeing so many players obsessed with Mothership and Tempest. If your economy gets reset like this, these aren't the units I think that you want right now. I actually think you want more mobile backstab focused units. You want to be clearing creep, And most of all, you want to be chronoing probes. If you're building a 4th base as Trap, I mean, I just don't really see what his plan is to win this game. I mean, this is a lovely counterattack. I like this.
Yeah, getting a couple of Immortals in, they're not going to really be strong against that air army anymore, so utilizing that with this Warp Prism tries to take the Bifrost home, and I think both Immortals are going to be able to slip back. So getting a little bit of damage done with those forces is nice, but yeah, that army is very valuable and very fragile, Pig.
8 High Templar. It's all about the Psy Storm. 11 Infestors, of course, though. Good units, those Zerglings.
Can't really do anything when you can't see the units.
Yeah. I mean, the natural wall has been breached as well. Trap's setup is so fragile right now. It almost feels like, I mean, he's not probing. He's got to go for some sort of army engagement, but I mean, he's treading water, and it's like, well, what's the plan? You're in the middle of the ocean right now. You got to choose a direction, and you got to swim. And I don't really see him choosing a direction. Adding Tempest and the Mothership, I mean, these aren't units that are going to win you a fight. You can pick away at Broodlords and stop him pushing you, but finally, probing up does start. Trap says, you know what, we're going to play long. I'm going to try and catch up in a long game. I will rebuild those probes now. I just think he may have delayed this decision a bit too long.
It's so hard, yeah, especially he's reached that composition, right? The Broodlord Infestor, it is so powerful. It's been a big talking point today amongst many things in regards to Zerg versus Protoss, but engaging this is really, it's a struggle. You've got Neural Parasite, which you could use to take all those big units, and if you get grabbed by one of those fungals on the High Templar and you lose those, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. It's not easy to land feedbacks on these units, especially since they're not gonna kill these instantly. Now, he is gonna force the issue with the Broodlords. Those +3 Broodlings gonna rain some fire down upon the expansion, and Trap, he can't afford to lose this base. The main and natural aren't even really mining anymore, Pig.
Yeah, and this probe's gonna try and evac, but I think they will get funneled right now, trying to backstab on the left-hand side to draw the attention away. That Nexus looks like it will be evacuated. Elazer building more Zerglings. I mean, it's all he needs. There's not even enough Archons. If you get like enough Zerglings and they just surround the Archons, Archons aren't even good versus Zerglings.
But they're so big. You can fit quite a few Lings around them. They can attack simultaneously.
Yeah. If you get like 7 Archons in a ball, yeah, then Zerglings
then
are
it
really
looks
bad.
awesome. Yeah.
But an individual Archon or 2 on their own, it's like, oh no, like they just get surrounded and disappear.
The Legacy of the Void cinematic would have you believe Archons have 11 range and can rip through giant mounds of Lings.
Well, they also have a self-destruct button that apparently one-hits an Ultralisk, so...
I would like that. I'd play Protoss if I could have that. Sounds good. That sounds good to me. These Lings doing their jobs against these Zealots on the southwest side as the Tempest Fleet returns, knocks down the Overseer. But, I mean, Elazer has everything he needs. He's got plenty of money, plenty of upgrades, plenty of economy. These Zealots are going to be annoying, but with the number of Lings that he's been putting out on this map, he's not really worried about throwing them into these Zealots. They're much more difficult to replace for Trap at this moment. But is it just really going to be that terribly slow grind to try and max out on this army? Because I'm not sure that Elazer is ever going to let him.
I mean, the backstabs are going to be what probably seals the deal. We were talking earlier, his natural wall is still wide open right now. Immortal in the middle goes down. The 5th base is going to go down. Yeah, by counterattacking and forcing a lot of Zerglings, you're encouraging Elazer to backstab you with those Zerglings, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He's already found some great value with it. He's going to have that Zergling squad. Oh, okay, it did get in and got blasted for the most part. The Tempest Micro has been amazing. I mean, I normally look at Tempest and think they're kind of worthless with how hard they are to micro in these scenarios, but Trap is like so on point. He's picked off so many Broodlords. It's just Elazer keeps replenishing them, and he's doing so much damage with every second that he's over here on the Protoss side of the map.
And with 16 Infestors, he has been able to just lob out small bits of infested Terran, not to fight, but to say, hey, your Tempest can't really come over and zone me out. You're going to have to waste your time dealing with those. The Infested Terran, them rocket launchers, if you get too close, they are going to deal quite a bit of damage. We all know Tempests they're quite fragile, despite being these big, long-range siege units. You need to be super careful. Don't want to lose those Templar either.
Yeah, you got to be careful there. Those Broodlords try and get a few shots off, nibble at those High Templar. Zergling still looking for the backstab. And this top right base even being taken by Elazer. That's fantastic. Expanding to both corners at the same time. Trap fighting for a 5th base on 29 probes. It's actually a rebuilding of the 4th in a new location. His army still mostly ground units, just with a pack of Tempests for the anti-Broodlords. The whole way this army works, he says, I can beat you ground versus ground. I just need my Tempest to pick off all your Broodlords first. And that's what Elazer's not letting him do. Elazer's guarding the infested Terrans, the Corruptors. Like, Elazer's really been on point with recognizing that keeping those Broodlords alive will stop him from ever losing this game.
Barring an incredible series of feedbacks or something of that sort, there are enough infestors to mind control almost every piece of this army. He has to be so careful.
Good storms. Doing lots of damage to the Corruptors there. The Oracle looks for the Revelation. Only finds infested Terrans. Not a great Revelation there, and he's out of energy. That's very annoying. Trap needs that vision so he can pick up off of these units from afar. Elazer just adding spores, building bank, hanging out. He's having a good time right now. He's feeling really good.
The zoning infested Terran have been used extremely well. He has cut off so much of this map. He's like, okay, you want to come and chase me? Good luck. Not going to work. We do have a Dark Templar sent over to the hatch. And I guess he's like, I don't want to ring the alarm bells by attacking it, so I'm going to wait for drones to come here, and I'll settle for those instead. Which I actually quite like that decision. But I don't know how he engages this army pig. I mean, for me, it boils down to like 5 minutes ago when he lost so much.
Oh, here it comes. Fungal comes from the side. The Zerg trying to get the ambush. The Broodlords aren't quite there. He's using the Fungal and the Neural to lock the Protoss in place. Grabs the mothership. And there we go. The Corruptors going in. Massive storms landing on the Corruptors. But there's nothing left. The army just gets squished. And Elazer there fighting back in that game, shutting down the double forge style of Trap.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Trap go back to some of those aggressive builds again, Pig. That really, you get to see some of the big strength of the late game Zerg, but also really good utilization of the backstabbing. As we talked about a few times, focusing on those melee upgrades, flooding Zerglings behind, getting into the natural, denying the fourth base, and generally keeping him from being able to cross the map, because he had that moment where he was being pushed up on that northeast base right outside of his main.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. He didn't have the Corruptors yet. He did have some Spore Crawlers, but he was bleeding out Broodlords, and he says, this is when I'm going to send 40 Zerglings over to your 5th, and I'm going to hope that the Banelings that knock down the cannons are going to set this up so I can pull your army all the way home, and that's exactly what happened. Really well played by Elazer, getting the exact army composition he needed to dissect Trap.
Play there by Elazer. Got to be critical of Trap though. Double forge, but not taking a fourth base. Going straight to Fleet Beacon and Mothership, but not taking a fourth base. Are we going ground or are we going air? I mean, these are all great upgrades if you're going 5 base, 85, 90 probes. But he wasn't. He sat on 66 probes for several minutes in that game. So I look at that and I say Trap was indecisive in that game. I think you've got to be more decisive as a player. I think the setup is cool. I mean, I was expecting Zealot attacks exploding across the map. A ground-pounding army.
Prisms going around, trying to get over.
But Link Stalkers to deal with small numbers of Broodlords. But he went straight to Tempests, and those ground armor upgrades didn't get a chance to shine. So
that's really weird.
It was an odd style from Trap. I think maybe he was going one direction, and then he just kind of said, oh, actually, I'm more comfortable with the Tempests. I think you got to commit a little bit more. We're going to, of course, find out as we've got that countdown going, and we'll be hopping in just a moment. Both players incredibly focused, of course. The final spot in that top 8. That's what's on the line here right now. We're going to go into map number 3. Let's go. And up here in the top left-hand side of the map in the red, representing Jin Air Green Wings, an incredible Protoss player. He is
Jin Air Green Wings, Trap.
And drawing blood out of our Korean Protoss is our Blue Zerg in the southeast. He is
Ego Esports, Elazer.
looking super focused there.
And that last game kind of, it brings me back to some vibes we talk about success in general for Protoss versus Zerg. A lot of it comes down to you really don't ever want to let the Zerg player just kind of chill. And we did have some of that early Oracle harass, but at some point, like you said, he goes for Double Forge, which is like, okay, big gateway, maybe Immortals or something like ridiculous like Colossus we don't see a ton of, but he instead just kind of says, actually on 3 bases, I'm just going to shift gears and start my Fleet Bacon and start to prep for like a really long game. But Elazer had so much money that didn't really ever seem like he was on the ropes. Like even if he took some early drone losses, it was like, well, you're not capitalizing on it, so I'm good.
Well, it was like, you know, it's kind of funny when we see a Tempest push get used, because it just seems like something which fundamentally is so hard to make work, right?
Yeah.
Where Elazer was really good at putting this wall of Spore Crawlers in front, and he was like, oh, just keep pulling behind those Spores, just buy time for a few more Broodlords, a few more Corruptors. And once he got those units out, he stabilized and was looking very healthy. So, you know, I don't really see Tempest as a pushing unit. I think they're a unit that whenever you're both kind of just dancing next to each other, you get free pickoffs, right? You pick off a few units, so it kind of forces your opponent to disengage, right? But if you're out on their side of the map, they're a very fragile unit. They can go down very easily. So I'm expecting a very different mid-game here on map number 2. We've been seeing a lot of Hydra Bane out of Elazer. And Trap here, of course, a master of many styles, but loving the Oracle openings. Is going to go Stargate once more.
You've got that big high ground in the middle of Disco Bloodbath, right? So being able to have those defensive armies, if you can get the creep spread out for that Hydra Bane style we were talking about, that's always going to be really strong. But a key thing to note that you brought up about Winter's Gate, that we have a lot more airspace to play with here. You can hide units behind the natural mineral line. You have the main base mineral line is exposed to the map, so if you want to go in with oracles, you can. It's not very simple about, oh, I'll put my queen here and my main is covered. So I definitely think that a player like Trap can really utilize that micro very effectively, and I would wager in a later scenario, Warp Prism becomes way more powerful than it would have otherwise been on Winter's Gate.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. A lot of players at one point swapping his stasis traps for harassment. Feels like Trap just keeps killing drones. Like, if he wants his oracles, you know, in your mineral line, he will just do that. And he's so good at focus firing and pulling back. I mean, that's it. He consistently pulls back the weak oracle. I'm actually wondering if he clicks on screen or if he, like, actually clicks in the bottom wireframe or something like that. So, because a lot of the time those oracles are kind of on top of each other, which is why
it's hard to be micro.
You see players fumble it. They pull back the wrong oracle a lot of the time. They kind of, like, you know, zigzag back and forth. Something I'll definitely check when I get a chance to see his first-person view. But for now, fast 3rd and 4th gas. Extra oracles on the way. This is it. Standard openings for both sides. And Elazer did pretty good in that last game. Of course, game 1 was that failed Ravager Queen bust. Trying to get through Trap's natural.
And the thing is, we were backstage as well. We saw, actually, Trap was coming back during that last match a little bit, watching those games with us. So he was very aware of what Elazer was doing against Neeb. So quite tricky to try and pull out the same play twice when you know that your opponent is watching you. And there's a ton of money on the line, of course. This is the last spot in the top 8 that's being fought for, which will, of course, be playing out next week at BlizzCon, which will be super fun, super awesome.
I don't think we have a second Spore in the main. I think that's a big mistake here for Elazer. Rogue was always going second Spore in the main on this map, and I think you have to. Ooh, bit of a misrallied Oracle there from Trap. You know, I love that he has 2 queens up here, and it looks like Trap might shift his focus to that 3rd base mineral line as the 3rd Oracle comes over to join up. Really healthy queen count from Elazer this time. The queens being in position is the real secret. Remember, there is also one more oracle behind the natural. It's kind of, I think, maybe going to just be used for stasis traps while he dives in with the other units. Adepts here, of course, threatening at the front. I love the way Trap shades in, but his Adepts always run. You can see them on the minimap running really far back to safety. He's going to join up all 3 oracles. Oh, no! All the queens are at the 3rd in the main base. They're too slow to get down here. Good pickoffs here by Trap. 7 workers and saves the oracle in red life.
Yeah, you're talking about that micro trying to click. He gets the Oracle with 4 health, pulls it back just in the nick of time. And 7 drones, pretty nice, especially considering that all of the Oracles are still alive. So that's going to be something he has to worry about. Nevertheless, he also has the option to go in for those scans with the Oracles to keep an eye on what's happening tech-wise. The Adepts are going to come by and almost able to get some kills on the drones. Unfortunately, not going to be able to succeed there. Oracles going in again with a lift on the Phoenix. And a lack of target fire on that Spore, but does get 1 Oracle, and the next one very low.
I think he thought he was going to recall out of there. He pulled all the queens back up. A big mistake there. The first wave was actually totally fine. Elazer's done such a good job droning. That first wave of harassment damage, you might be like, oh, 7 drones. No, that was totally fine. The second wave of 11 drones, that's where Trap says, all right, get some. Now I'm I'm happy with what my Oracles have done. Just the 7 wouldn't have cut it.
Good counter opportunity here for Elazer. Runs in. He's going to grab a handful of probes. Forces a Zealot warp in 4 probes.
Really well played.
Not
That's
too
nice.
shabby.
Yeah, that's good. Elazer's up at 64 drones. He's going up above 70. Charge and +1 on the way for Trap. So Infestation Pit way faster this game. Oh my, all right. Looks like he's actually going to play Ravager Baneling into the much faster Broodlord tech. We haven't seen Elazer pull this out. This is like the most standard macro style right now, but Elazer hasn't really been tending in this direction. He's been much more Hydra focused, much later on the Broodlords. I love the fact that he's changing it up mid-series here. Trap will not expect this.
Yeah, definitely looks good. And I mean, it's still fascinating to me, the range that we've seen out of the Zergs in terms of the different ways that they've been able to pick Protoss players apart. That he is going to try and go straight back into that similar style as you were saying from that last map without using any of the Swarm Host tech. But it's funny because it's still on Trap's mind. He has the Oracles patrolling here on the south side. It's like, well, okay, you're not really like jumping across that gap, but he's doing it because you want to be aware of if a Nidus starts popping up or something of that sort. And that isn't going to be what we see this game. We have the all-seeing eye of the commentators and the observers, but he does have the Spire on the way. He does have the Hive booting up, and Elazer's like, yes, let's please go into another late game.
Well, I mean, this is so good for Elazer that he's like wandering around looking for those Nidus worms. We've mentioned it before, Elazer is not a Nidus Swarm Host guy. His Hive and Spire is on the way, and the Observer just moved up, and it just reset itself into pervert position, the observation position in the main base. And it's actually, I think it can see the Hive. We haven't got a glimpse of it, but it was basically set up between the rally out front and the natural. Now it's up in the main base. So I think because of that, Trap should know he's up against that, and I think, he's pushing out across the map in response to it. So he's looking to put on some sort of pressure, just at least a little bit with his harassment. Might even look for a snipe on the Spire with the Immortal drop. And he's going to build his economy a ton behind this. So he's saying, okay, we're going to go to Hive. I think he's aware of what he's up against now.
Yep, the Immortals at the very least see this. They get to put a little bit of the drone pressure on. Of course, you know, it's small things, but even grabbing that Spore Crawler, I think on the way out would be pretty nice. He's going to sit here, just two-shot these Zerglings, driving through the drones as they come in. He's like, you know what? If you're not going to commit this little, I'm going to bring some Zealots out. Denies the Overlord drop on his side of the map. And with the Immortals behind this, he's like, yeah, bring the rest of your forces over here, buddy. You're going to have to spend your attention on this and not whatever else it was you were planning on doing this game.
Is this PvP? I've never seen an Immortal drop do that much damage in this matchup, man. That's only meant to happen against Protoss players. That was so much damage there. That was awesome for Trap so far. I mean, both sides are still tied neck and neck overall. Greatest Spy is about halfway done, though. And like I said, I mean, Trap, it looks like he wants to make an attack happen before those Broodlords get out. We've already got Corruptors on the field, but they aren't going to add anything to the fight. At best, they're going to hunt down the War Prism. Where are the Banelings right now? There's 24 Banelings, 8 more on the way. We've got 3 Ravagers, 13 Roaches.
Ooh, those Oracles, too, coming in on the side. The Queens were pushing towards the west side, getting quite a bit of damage in there. Setting up for a possible surround. Guardian Shield does get popped, but Trap is going to have to take this fight.
Nice force fields on the ramp. I mean, these Archons and Immortals are doing so much. Elazer's struggling to find the engagement right now. Again, he traps him on the ramp. Elazer's army's in disarray. Trap is doing so much. Oracle Zealots coming in from all sides, and Elazer unable to get his army organized here. Finally, the Banelings find the Zealots. A lot of those do go down. I don't know if there's much behind it. That's only a small squad of Roaches.
There's still so many Zealots. I mean, he invested so much into trying to get this tech up. Corruptors are coming over, but those aren't really going to be able to add a whole lot to the fight. There wasn't a tremendous number of Ravagers as those force fields came through, and he was able to really buy himself so much time. The Archons are finally running out of shield, so I do believe those will get knocked down, and the drone Zergling reinforcement will be able to pick off those Immortals.
Actually only losing 7 workers there. Elazer's gonna hang on and takes out the complexity of that army. Goes straight back into drones. More Zealots are here, but there is enough units and Broodlords morphing as well. It looked terrible for a moment there for Elazer, but in the end he manages to just shamble the defense together. I mean, it was really hard because the thing Trap was doing is those Oracles started hunting the Queens on the left. The Zealots went and started picking off Elazer's harassment units, which he started pulling back across the map. And then those force fields on the ramp just made it really scary. A lesser Zerg player would have fallen apart in that moment. But Elazer kept calm. There was no Storm, thankfully. Storm on that ramp would have just destroyed him. It's basically just a big ground-pounding army of Archon, Colossus, Zealot.
And this terrifies me because we're looking at a situation where with the Warp Ins he's going for, it looks like he wants to try and get another big punch in, but Pig, we've got Broodlords on the map, so a hatch denial here seems likely, but taking a straight-up engagement, Archons, well, they do a lot of damage to everything, but they don't have quite as much range as Broodlords do.
Yeah, well, you know, he's actually doing 2 3-prong push. Warp Prism in the main, Zealots in the main, attacks the base on the left, and moves into the natural at the same time, hitting 3 places at once. Elazer actually just jumped on the army on the left. I think it recalled. Only a few units remaining. The other army extricated itself from the natural. Greatest Fire does get sniped, but Trap actually lost a lot of army and only got a handful of workers there. I think if Elazer can, immediately rebuilds the Spire, I think he's still okay in this game.
He got 3 more Broodlords during that, so I think the total gets up to something like 7 Broodlords, and with the Spire, he can get into the Corruptors a bit faster, of course, before he needs to go into a Greater Spire again. So there is a bit of opportunity with the Warp Prism being removed from play to try and strike, I think.
I think the easiest way for Trap to win here, though, is honestly just stay on this big army. He's got Blink. If these Broodlords come across this map, I think Trap can just pound it. But right now, he's getting caught out. This is just a small squad of units. They don't want to be fighting on their own. The Zerglings trying to surround those Archons, trying to stop them from retreating. Great focus fire there by Elazer. He's going to get on top of this 5th base.
And it's going to lead him straight, exactly, to that 5th base. An easy shutdown here. Trap on the other side of the map, though, wants to try and force this army home. We know the one big weakness of Broodlords, they are so
He's got to get the drones. Run drones. He's got to get out of there. A lot of them do fall on the retreat, and a base snipe as well. A good move by Trap. I think Trap here, oh damn, he's actually getting assaulted. Elazer, the madman, dives into his 3rd base and just jumps on the worker line.
Those infestors barely slip out too. He's going to recall, taking a trip on the Bifrost back home to defend against this attack. Those Blink Stalkers that you're talking about, Pig, are going to give him a great force of an engagement opportunity against the Roach Ravager. And the Broodlords finally make their way home to clean up what's left of this, but Elazer knocked back down to 3 mining bases. And I mean, mining is one choice of word to use for the natural and main right now.
Warp Prism speed has been done. And you know what? Trap's got 2-1 ground upgrades. I want to see him continue those armor and attack upgrades. I wouldn't mind a second Forge. I think he's playing a spectacular ground-based style, and he's just saying, you know what? You're swapping into a mobile unit. Guess what? I'll Zerg you. I'll swarm you with Protoss, mate. Warp Prism in the main again, looking for that exposed worker line. Isn't hitting anywhere else at the same time. Warping in more Zealots. I'm not sure what that's for there, as this is, good cancel on the Warp Prism. Gets the spawning pool, not the most impressive trade in my mind. I think you've got to be doing more 1-2 punches. There we go. Does strike in the middle at the same time.
That on the Zerg economy, very well done. And he hasn't made any sort of transition into Stargate yet, but he does have the Fleet Beacon, so it's an option. Ooh, Fungal there. He's going to cancel those Warp Pits. I know it looks like they all died, but those don't actually die when that happens.
He realized that just jumping out of that siege up mode and canceling and falling back was the better idea. You don't want to be warping into fungal Broodlord fire. It's a
bad idea.
It's a bad way to start your life as a stalker.
I don't think it's a good time, Pig.
Well, I mean, when you get your Protoss, marching orders and it says go to Disco Bloodbath, I think.
My goodness.
You should expect something nasty, but hopefully not fungal and broodlings biting at your ankles as soon as you spawn out there.
He's got to be a bit more careful. Okay, some of the forces are over here at that southwest base, but that Prism back again in the northeast with Archons. We have exposed Overlords as the Stalkers pick away. Nothing at this base to really hold on because he's got to deal with the Hive also being threatened. So much could get lost here. It's going to get one fungal, but if he misses for even a moment, a lot of them could still try to blink away or at least onto those infestors.
Good fungals does trap most of these. A couple of infestors fall. But you know what makes the best of a bad decision? What we're seeing here, though, is Trap is saying, you know what, Disco Bloodbath, your bases are so spread out down here. You've got Broodlord infested, you just can't cover all of this. Hits from the right and the left at the same time. Elazer does defend the left, but only after losing a hatch. And on the right-hand side, it is a complete rout. The Protoss has literally just pushed him out of his own main base.
I love this.
Destroyed his Hive, and he swings in the front at the same time. Trap here just swinging around like the Protoss pendulum of doom, and Elazer's not happy with this at all. I mean, his economy is just getting crushed.
He's bullied him off of the StarCraft seesaw, Pig, as this has just been rocking back and forth in favor of Trap, really making such brilliant use of the map geometry. He says, look, if this is going to be a place where you can't really block me with 1 or 2 spores, I am going to get that Prism speed, constantly be fighting there, denies that spawning pool again, killed the Hive, picking off key infrastructure in a scenario where Elazer has also still been down on his economy. So yes, this army is still very cost effective. Yes, the Broodlord Infestor on its own still represents a very real threat since we still don't have any transition into an army that can actually kill it per se,
Yep.
but he may not need to. He's going to add another Stargate, and as I say that, he's going to boot up his first carrier.
Look at that Warp Prism still threatening in the main base right
Oh,
now.
those feedbacks.
Oh, lovely feedbacks.
GG! Trap takes the lead 2-1. And that was one hell of a game, Pig.
Oh yeah, I think that was just lovely playing of the map there from Trap. He showed that he understands why Broodlord and Fest are not as strong on that map, because that main base so wide open to the drops. The left-hand side, 4th or 5th base was just way out there. And I love the way Trap just hit from multiple locations and said, you know what? As long as I'm not out under the gun of Nidus Swarmhost or something like that,
That's
I'm very
gotta feel
happy to
nice.
play this map, man.
Yeah, it's got to feel really nice to play Disco Bloodbath when the Zerg player won't go Nidus Swarmhost. If you don't have to think about that, that is such a load off the shoulders and just works really well for him.
A beautiful play there from Trap. Does take the lead in the series. I can't wait to see how this one goes. We're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back with the World Championship Series. We are back here with the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series 2019. It's been a great year of StarCraft, and the long day is coming to an end. These two guys fighting for that last spot. Elazer there, a little bit more pressure on him, as he is down now, 1 map to 2. It is a best of 5, so Trap needs 1 more to close it out, and Elazer needs 2 wins to finish this one off.
Yeah, Trap looking extremely strong. Great use of the maps that we've been able to see him take advantage of. He has let Elazer play that late game twice. He dealt with it a lot better when he was able to make use of those warp prisms.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of the other maps are going to be quite so exposed.
All right, well, we are going to be launching into the next map. Map number 4 of this series, Protoss vs. Zerg. Let's go. Down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, the red Protoss player. A spectacular game in that last one. Let's see if he can do it again. He is.
Jin Air Green Wings. Trap.
And his opponent in the Northwest needs to win 2 in a row to get to BlizzCon. He is.
Ego Esports. Elazer.
You know, I actually wouldn't mind here. Triton, big map, that same Charge Zealot into DT opening that we saw from their first series. Really cool one. You know, a sort of build order that just does a lot.
Do you think he's talking to us? Thanks for coming to Korea, or just WCS round of 16? I'm going to pretend that was for me because it makes me happy, Pig.
It's good to be narcissistic, Nate.
It's been really nice. I'm coming here and eating all the fried chicken and getting Korean barbecue, and then Tasteless being like, Nate, here it's just barbecue. I'm like, oh, right.
No, I mean, I always love it when we get to come down to Korea.
It's so cool.
Haven't been since Pyeongchang, and since then it was many years. You know, we always go on about the food, but Korean food's just awesome, man.
Yeah. It's been so nice, like walking around downtown. You get like these giant screens everywhere. I'm like, man, the only place I've seen like this has been like a bit New Yorkish in terms of like the vibes.
The whole center city is like Times Square, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like walk outside and I see like Will Smith shadow boxing to some like perfume brand I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, yeah.
40-foot tall Will Smith on the side of a building.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, man.
It's awesome that we had our round of 16 here. I agree with you, Citizen. And hopefully in the future we get to do more cool stuff like this.
Well, it'd be cool if it became a fixture. I would not mind coming back here for the round of 16 again next year. Hopefully we do get another chance to do so.
Yeah, it's been a blast. And of course, all of you fans, everyone here has just been super hyped. Tons of people coming out to support. And boy, oh boy, watch some good StarCraft, which is really what it's all about. Just some good StarCraft action. We have that Stargate booting up, and just, I guess if you are a Elazer, you basically just want to get to where you were the last game. I feel like it'll be way easier to deal with those types of attacks because none of these maps that are left are going to give you quite as much of an open space for the airplay as Disco Bloodbath.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of an odd choice to go the Ravager Baneling straight into the fast Broodlords. Because that last map we saw Broodlords, it's really hard to defend all your bases when the Protoss splits up, and it's very hard to push across the map. So, you know, if you get a fast Broodlord, sometimes you just kill them with a fast Broodlord timing attack. And he kind of went across the map, and Trap was like, well, I'm running across the other side of the map, and he had to pull his Broodlords ever so slowly home.
Would you have preferred to see the Hydra play then on that map?
Yeah, I actually think that map's really good for the Hydra play, which he's been favoring. So, I mean, it's kind of less expected because of that, but I definitely think Hydra Bane has some depth and some strength on that map, especially if you mix in things like Baneling drops, as Elazer has been known to do. And I mean, you know, we keep talking about Nidus Swarm Host. You can Nidus Banelings and Hydras into bases. Like, once it gets to the mid to late game, you know, you've got money for that. Nidus Swarm's not too expensive. So some cool things you can do with that. But for now,
that just gives me nightmares about the Nidus Banelings we got to see in the earlier groups of round 16.
Serral, yeah, when Serral was playing that.
That's like a glimpse. We barely got to see that too. That's just like a glimpse of his next level. These two Adepts coming in though, immediately causing a bit of mayhem with the Oracle support behind the Graviton.
Oracle.
6 drones picked off at the start of this game.
I think it's not the end of the world because he's got 10 more drones in production. It was good micro, but only 2 went down in the main. The Oracle getting worked on with 4. But the Phoenix is now heavily wounded. The Oracle's deep in the red. So I think the return power of this is severely limited. Now, one thing I'm going to be critical of, a lot of Zerg players, they don't have an Overlord here over to the right-hand side of this third base. You can see Elazer does have them, but I wish they were just a little bit further out. A Phoenix is not going to take out an Overlord very quickly, and that's the most common angle, is those Oracles fly in above the third, take out a few drones, fly in the back of the natural. To stop that, you need to have your Queens ready up against the edge of the map to shoot the Oracles as they're coming in. So any bit of early warning you can get is great, and you can see Elazer's kind of set that up in the main, where he's got a ring of Overlords, he's got his creep spread going out, he's got heaps of Queens, and he's really respecting this. Once again, I think just the fact he builds such an early Spore in each base, he's building about 7 Queens in total. Good defensive setup here for Elazer.
The Queens are in position over here to try and help stop these Oracles from being harassed.
Oh!
As you mentioned, that Oracle deep in the red, very close to getting picked off there. Does he need to?
Oh!
Wow.
Actually, I think the Oracle, if
he
he went on the
could've got it.
edge, because it pushed out when he recalled. Yeah,
Right,
he stacked them up, but then they obviously collided with each other. He might have actually got the Oracle as well. As it is, though, shuts down the Oracles. Even though he's taken some worker losses, that's all as intended. As a Zerg player, droning this hard, you don't mind about a few losses. You see some Sentries and Immortals come out, yeah, you have to build some Roaches, some Ravagers, some Lings. And I think as a Protoss, you're like, cool, I'm stopping him droning up. Elazer's already got 3 full bases. He doesn't care. He's happy to build army right now. An awesome start here for Elazer.
If you're going to play as a Zerg player at this high of a level, you kind of have to build the worker losses into your strategies to some degree. Like, almost none of the players you're going to go against are going to be so bad that you just don't lose drones. 3 come the Oracles, 3 of them, again, good target fire on the weakest one, and then immediately going for the orange-held Oracle. So 8 drones get picked off, but he does kill an Oracle and almost 2 more.
Yep, down to 2 Oracles here. 17 workers in total going down, so not bad damage, especially since these ones, Elazer is a bit slow to replace. He was a bit worried about that push. He's now reasserting map control and going, oh, okay. Sees the gases go down on the third. That's a big tell that the Protoss player wants to go to the later stages of the game. It means you're expecting things like Storm, you're expecting +2 upgrades, you're expecting going up to 10 gateways or so. These are all the sorts of things that you expect as a Elazer, and because of that, you now go, ooh, okay, I really need to drone my 4th. The problem was, I was talking about how that push wasn't that scary. Well, it did actually keep Elazer off 4th base for a long time, and because of that, he can't just jump up to the 80, 85 workers, which he might want to upon seeing what he's seen in this game. Instead, he's kind of tied neck and neck, and he doesn't get that super big macro lead that he'd love to have.
Now, Ling's poking in again at that 3rd base. +1, charge coming in. And that melee upgrade as well with Baneling Nest. Now moving into Baneling Speed. Oracles have a little bit of an opportunity here. It's always feel a little bit anxious when I see the workers mainarding over to a base like that, and he will capitalize on it. Thank you for the donation. 6 drones. Feels good, man.
He's talking about how he was eager to drone that 4th base, so you can see rally them over before he can even build a Spore Crawler there. Right now, Trap is pushing across the map, but once again, this does not look like... I mean, is he going to commit to that? Surely not.
This actually kind of reminds me, he did this a bit on Disco Bloodbath, where he got that Prism out, but he also like started adding cannons at home. Yeah. He had like 2 or 3 cannons on his 4th base while he was making this attack, so he is constantly aware of counterattack possibility, but I think that might be a little too much to attack into right now. You definitely want to wait for that Prism, get reinforcements at least, but there we go. Okay, 4th Nexus starts up, and he's just going to continue to trickle out the Immortals and Archons.
Elazer starts a 5th base, but he's only on Ravager Bane right now. No Hydras, no Infestation Pit for the Hive Inspired just yet. It's just looking to hang on here. We've got more Archons and Zealots warping in. Some nice corrosive vials hitting both the army as well as breaking the force fields. He's out of them. A little bit late on that next wave. A bunch of those Roaches did get stuck up front and center, but the Baneling Speed finishes, and goodbye Zealots and Sentries. The Roaches and the Ravagers coming forward. Trap here. I think he's overextended. That is a ton of Roach Ravager. The Queens come forward to take care of those Oracles. They go down. Great focus fire on the Oracles by Elazer, and these Immortals and Archons are desperately trying to get home.
With so many Ravagers, it's not possible for him to try and add in any warp-ins with that army. You cannot risk losing the Prism, or you're going to lose possibly every unit to the follow-up Ling Flood that comes after this. Now, he does have the 4th Nexus finishing, but this is where we start to see Elazer get into a little bit of that rhythm with his counterattacks, assuming he doesn't throw all of his Zerglings into an Archon blender.
Yeah, got to be careful with that one. As always, Aspire is now on the way. Elazer, is he going to play Lertech? I don't think he has a high over an infestation bit. I think he might do a Muta swap. I mean, it might just be Mass Ravager, Roach Baneling. I think he realizes that Trap wants to attack into him, and he's saying, dude, like, I got picked apart when I tried to go Broodlords in that previous game. I'm not going to try that again. I'm happy to play this mid-game style. I just think he needs to get the counterattacks going, you know, get some Zergling backstabs going. Second Evo would not be bad, though I think in this case he's saying, you know what, bank the gas for the Muta swap. Take a big Roach Ravager, Bling Bane fight, trade armies, and then build 20, 30 Mutalisks.
I like it. Definitely one of those tricks you can use to pull a fast one on a Protoss player. You can kind of bounce around that fourth to the main as well. Not that we've been seeing a huge focus on Star, because of course we know Archons do well against Mutas, but they have to engage. So this is a big opportunity.
Lord.
Trap moving in.
This is such a ballsy push here from Trap. He saw so many Roaches on the top right. Elazer only now pulling them back. But I mean, his army's out here in the middle, and I think he's about to get sandwiched. That's a lot of Roaches coming in from the side. Trap's army very good against Roaches, but those Immortals are wounded. Hot pickup on the left-hand side. The army's splitting. Trap's just going to try and fight him on both fronts at once. Roaches desperately trying to pull back.
Here come the Mutalisks. They rally into where this army is, so he gets a very quick heads up. Prism is going to try and add Stalkers. He wants to try and crush him here. Archons can do tremendous damage, but that's when the ground units are going to come in. They can't shoot all of the units at once. Gets the Biles down on the War Prism, and the Mutas are going to hunt down the rest of Trap's army. Up 100 supply is Elazer.
So many Mutas surviving in the deep orange, but they do not go down. They will regenerate. Trap's push is held. He's down at 59 workers right now. I think Banelings must have hit his third mineral line while all that happened. We didn't catch it on camera, but his economy is being pushed back. His army is being crushed. And the Ravager, Ling, Bane, the Mutas come in. And this is it. 2 Phoenix is not going to be enough to stop that.
What better timing could he have been able to hit? The ground units are just enough with the Mutas popping to swallow the entire army. The 4th base ravaged, and Trap dropping below 60 supply. I don't think there's anything else he can really do here, Pig. Elazer still has the map. He's in the main, and the rest of the army is going to make its way over to that natural expansion, desperately trying to micro a handful of Phoenix, but he has the pylon here. He can just shut down the Stargate and put a pin in it for this map. I do not see a way he's going to be able to recover from this level of a catastrophic loss.
That's just a lot of Zerg knocking on the door. And it's going to be it for this game. An awesome turnaround. It's such a different style when every Zerg is rushing to Hive Tech. We've got one Zerg here who's hanging out on Hydra Bane, who's swapping between that to the Ravager Baneling Infestor style. Now here, Roach Ravager Baneling into Mutalisk swap. He keeps changing it up game to game. He's shown these cheesy Ravager Queen attacks. As Trap, how do you predict what this kid's going to do in the next game? It's always a different strategy.
20 supply micro in those Phoenix, like I'm watching Roddy stream. Elazer ties it up. GG 2-2. And that is a fun way to watch a Zerg pick apart a Protoss player. Very enjoyable game there.
Yeah.
And Elazer showing off some killer instinct, amazing control of his units. And that's just, if you time that swap a little bit too late, I thought Trap's control with the Zealot Archon Immortal was really good. He kept the Prism pocketed in the back. Everything fell apart when the Mutas came out. It seemed like he immediately was caught off guard. It's like, okay, well, I haven't seen this out of him out of any of the games that he's played today. And that just worked beautifully, because I thought that ground attack was really nice, but the Mutas, well, they don't care about Immortal Zealot.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting scenario there, because I feel like Trap can't get a read on exactly what Elazer wants to do in these games, because his strategy is so different every single game. And Trap, he's trying to play safe against anything. I feel like he looks at this and says, I think I'm the superior player. Let's make sure I don't get surprised. But because of that, his 4th base is often going down quite late. He's expecting some sort of assault. And then in that game, he said, okay, let's do a bit of pressure here. Banelings wipe out the probe line on his 3rd. And he goes, I got to push in here. Let's do something. I think I can break him. He's going to go to Broodlords, head on economy. No, he's just massing Roaches and Banes and Ravagers. That's a low-tier army that wants to fight at that moment. And I mean, it looked like for a moment he was going to catch half of Elazer's army, deal with it, and then the other half would come back and he'd deal with that. And Elazer just pulled back, disengaged, waited for the sandwich to close on both sides.
So sick.
Awesome patience by Elazer, multiple times surprised by pushes, keeps on getting the defense together. Let's see where this series is going to go. It is game number 5. Down here in the bottom right-hand side, of Acropolis, the red Protoss player. He wants that spot in the top 8. Can he get it? He is.
Jin Air Green Wings. Trap.
And his opponent clawing his way back into this series, the Blue Zerg. Can he get it done? He is.
Ego Esports. Elazer.
It all comes down to this, Pig, the final map of the round of 16. Unless we get one of those really crazy draws, in which case technically it's still going to be the same map that we replay on. So the final map of the round of 16 all comes down to this, Acropolis.
Final countdown right here, man. That game timer on the bottom left, we don't know how much longer that's going to go for in this series. I'm hoping personally for a nice long game, but right now Trap is nervous. I think he's kind of, he won the first series. He's feeling like, hey, I think I've got the mental advantage, but I don't know. Elazer's throwing out different strats every game, different styles, and Trap can't seem to find a direction that's working for him. His pushes, they're working some games. Other games, they're just falling flat. It's hard for him to get an exact read on what Elazer's goals are in the game. Elazer seems to be staying very fluid, and I love that Elazer's not going for too many of these crazy Nidus rushes where like you skip on Queens and Spores and then like the Oracles just kill 20 drones and you're beyond all in. He's going up good solid economic openings, and it's once he gets to 3 base that he's branching down these weird different directions.
Yeah, we even saw in Disco Bloodbath, like, Trap is not necessarily even writing it off. He's still scouting for it. He's still prepping for it. If you don't, and the Zerg goes for it, then you're going to be in a really, really, really bad place. But I think this was the map where Elazer went for that Nidus push, right, against Neeb on the 3rd base. And it was kind of awkward because he had actually gotten to where the robotics facilities were, and then tried to go into the natural instead of killing the 3rd, and that's where things got out of hand.
It was very, very close, wasn't it? Yeah, that was a crazy hold by Neeb in that game. But yeah, things looking interesting here. Stargate once again from Trap, so he's not going to opt for something like that charged DT build. He's so comfortable with this opening. It's the follow-up that interests me more than anything, though. Elazer in that last game did so good against the Oracles. Remember, it was like the Adepts came in, got a few workers, the Oracle did good, but the next wave started getting shut down. The Queens were like
target
right
fire.
there.
The target fire was really good. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Yeah, he got probes, he got the drone kills, but the one Oracle was really red, and then as soon as he came back the second time with the Oracles, just right-clicked on that low health one and killed it incredibly fast. Oracles are good at a lot of things, but they are, you could say, made out of paper mache.
Yeah. Not the toughest unit by any means. And things looking all standard here. Would be expecting the double gas on the natural in the next 10 seconds here for Trap. Indeed, all as expected. Elazer just with a single slow Overlord scout. You know what? This is another edge Elazer's taking in this series. No Overlord speed. He's not having to sneak Zerglings in or anything to scout. He's like, yeah, my opponent's playing the safest, most standard defensive Stargate build every game. I don't need to scout because you're doing such a standard follow-up every game.
Well, I think Roddy's down there. He's like, yes, start the +1.
Roddy's been telling him all day. He's been saying, Trap, you got to do this, man.
Roddy, he literally asked one of our translators to tell him. He's like, look, can you please tell Trap to go for the double Stargate +1 Phoenix? And it's like, and then Trap's like, should I though?
He did have a bit of a giggle as that was translated to him. But you know what? Obviously, 2-star Phoenix here right off the bat. Like, not even the Glaive Adept opening, which Trap was a big fan of back in the day. So just going to go 2-star Phoenix immediately. And it's such a...
And that 3rd timing as well with it.
Yeah, it's such a powerful opening. I mean, if he gets the 3rd up as well, that's awesome, right? Having a single Oracle gives you a lot of safety on that 3rd. You can just kind of bring it back for defensive purposes, and you can, get tons of scouting early on with this.
It can be scary though, right? Because one of the big things about having multiple Oracles is that they do obliterate Zerglings. So you lose a bit of the aggressive potential until your Phoenix count starts to snowball.
Yeah.
And if you were hit with some sort of like a Ling Flood on that 3rd, which as we can see isn't coming, you don't really have quite as many Oracles to try and at least stop them from forcing a cancellation. So there are a couple of risks here. You're not really investing into any other tech because Phoenix Phoenix they build really fast and they're expensive. You spend a lot of money quickly trying to do a build like this for Trap.
He's building a Forge, which makes me think he might even go Sky Toss off this Forge before Robo. Twilight does go down. Okay, there we go. It is more normal. I was like, is he going Sky Toss? The Phoenix are now showing themselves this. Elazer, luckily, had not built any Roaches, which is very good for him. He's got his Queens together, he's building Spores, he's got to keep droning. He knows, I mean, he's also losing Overlords, which for another player might supply block them. Thankfully, Elazer had 50 free supply, so he was quite well prepared for this.
You see so many Zerg players do that. I think it was like a really funny image of one of the, it was like maybe Dark or Sue was building 11 Overlords at like 180. They're like, yeah, go ahead, kill as many as you want, bro. You're not blocking me.
It's really good because it means Elazer has been able to drone right up to 70 workers. These Queens coming down to the front, that's not quite enough Phoenix to fight that many Queens. It's almost, but not quite, because you got to pick up all the Queens that have Transfuse, which means a few Phoenix are taken out of the damage dealing equation. Hydra's on the way immediately here for Elazer. No fourth base down just yet. I want to see him go for a fourth. Blink on the way for Trap?
That's,
oh wow. Is he just going to...
I feel like we had a conversation earlier about Blink Stalkers versus Hydra Bane, and it wasn't very good for the Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, no, I mean, it can be really nice versus Roach styles. I mean, Blink Stalkers are a really interesting push that you can make happen. This could be a 3-base Blink timing. There's so many gateways going down. I think he's just going to try and push. There's actually a really nice high ground area in the middle. You can kind of push through the middle and blink back up that ramp.
I mean, he certainly won't expect it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, people play so greedy against 2-star Phoenix. Normally, they just build 85 drones at this point. Elazer's massing Hydras, though. So he's actually almost gearing up for his own Hydralist push. This could play perfectly into Elazer's hands. He builds more drones, though. If he builds like another 5 or 10 drones, big blink attack could definitely be big trouble for him.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting stylistic choice to go for. The Phoenix, of course, the side benefit here is always being distracting, always putting on a bit of pressure. Oracle is there with the shield battery to keep the third base mineral line safe. And wow, he is going to try and pop this Stalker push on a razor's edge right as Blink and +1 are finishing. He is already there, getting ready to attack.
Fourth base gets cancelled. A few stray drones do get picked up.
He doesn't have the Baneling Nest.
I mean, he doesn't really need it. There's no charge just yet. I think he just needs more Lings, more Hydras. He's got Groove Spines, I do believe. Queen's getting force fielded. A lovely thrust forward. Where are the units on the left-hand side of that hatchery? Elazer, you've got to bring some Hydras around the left-hand side. A little bit slow to react. He does now position on that side. Hydra's coming in. Baneling's fine. Ooh, last-second force fields go down. Lovely micro by Trap.
Incredibly dangerous, though. Those Hydralists would love to get in a head-to-head fight all together against the Stalkers, but it's actually going to be, it's actually quite nice that he has the multiple Spore Crawlers here to kind of keep this engagement from happening, but he's content to just shave away at this hatch, pick off units as they come by. Drones are coming in on the left side. Hydras are trying to attack on the right. We do have a couple of the units being removed from the equation by those Phoenix.
The Phoenix picking up everything. So many Hydras going down here. The Stalkers blink forward. Trap with a 2-star Phoenix into 3-base Blink Stalker attack is jumping on top. He has sliced and diced this Zerg army to pieces, splitting it up with the force fields, and now decisively jumping on top of those Hydralisks because they're too fragile. They cannot stand their ground.
The absolute madman with a crazy greedy build into this aggression does it! GG! Trap is going to BlizzCon.
What a build to finish it.
Ay.
Oh man, that is a cool attack right there. The last thing you're expecting. And you know, a lot of Trap fans out there very, very happy with how that one went. It was a real tough series. I love that he chose a super decisive build there to finish things off. I think, you know, you've got to commit hard when everything's on the line. Trap there, not afraid to just push. Everything was on that push.
I mean, you say the word decisive. That encompasses all of that. I'm going to do a build I haven't broken out today that we haven't really seen, and it kind of elicits a certain response, right? That greed that you were talking about. You're not going to have that fast Baneling speed, and you're not going to have those units that can kind of swarm over the Protoss coming over there. He says, I'm going to put everything onto this with my control on the Blink Stalkers, and also just having a ton of force fields. Just really well done. Really great play by Trap.
A cool play, unique play, and I can't wait to hear from Trap himself. Smix, take it away.
For our final match of Group D, it came down to Elazer taking on Trap, and Trap is our final player to advance to that round of 8. So first of all, congratulations, Trap. Not only is this your first ever BlizzCon, first ever WCS Global Finals, you finally made it to that round of 8 after such a difficult day. Tell us what this means for you.
일단 축하드리고요. 이제 첫 블리즈컨에서 8강 진출도 진출이지만 이렇게 힘들게 진출한 소감 한마디만 해주세요.
솔직히 처음에 일레이저 선수 만나서 이기고 나서 이제 마지막 상대로 확정이 됐을 때 그래도 좀 쉽게 이길 줄 알았는데 생각보다 너무 어려웠던 것 같아요.
He says, honestly, when it came to facing Elazer in this final deciders match, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it would be a lot easier than it turned out to be, but he definitely proved to be a very difficult opponent, and difficult it was indeed. It turned out to be a 5-map series. I want to ask specifically about that third map on Disco, Bloodbath, because you showcased a very aggressive gateway style after getting such an advantage with your Oracle micro, so I wanted to ask about how you could break down that game for us.
일단 그 3세트 때에서 물어보고 싶은데 이제 초반에 예언자로 이득을 많이 보고 이후에 그 관문 플레이로 계속 지속해서 플레이를 보여줬었는데
네.
공격적인 플레이를 보여줬는데 그 경기에 대해서 말씀해 주세요.
3세트 맵이 뭐였죠?
디스코 법.
그 맵에서 이제 제가 예언자로 이득을 많이 봤는데 진짜 일레이저 선수가 딱 제가 느끼기에 그냥 무리군주 뜨면 안 진단 마인드로 너무 그러는 거예요. 자원 필요 없다. 그냥 무리군주만 띄우면 된다. 약간 이 마인드인 게 보여서 혼내주고 싶었어요. 근데 저는 초중반 상황을 봤을 때 그냥 가면 끝날 줄 알았는데 생각보다 너무 어려워서 이기고도 좀 찝찝했어요.
So he says when it comes to that third map on Disco Bloodbath, I did gain such an advantage after I was able to kill so many of his drones with my oracles. But as I was playing him, I felt that he thought to himself that if he just pulled out some Broodlords and got to that stage of the game, it was pretty apparent to me that he thought he would still be able to win. So I definitely wanted to punish that, and that's why I went with such an aggressive gateway style. But that being said, in the early to mid stage, I went for an attack, and it actually turned out to be a lot more difficult than I had predicted. So it was still a very difficult victory for me. And now you are moving forward to Anaheim, and there are obviously so many amazing players that you may potentially face. Is there a player that specifically sticks out to you?
이제 8강 진출을 하셨고 정말 대단한 선수들이 많은데 그 중에서 뛰어난 선수가 있다면?
당연히 세랄 선수가 가장 뛰어나다고 생각하고요. 그리고 푸푸전이나 테란전은 괜찮은데 저그 선수들이 너무 많아가지고 그래서 좀 어려운 싸움이 될 것 같아요.
So he says, first and foremost, I have to give some credit to Cyril. He is the player that, for now, sticks out the most to me. He's such an impressive player. And, you know, when it comes to the other players, honestly, I feel pretty good about my PvT and my PvP. But there are so many great Zerg players, and that's a matchup I'm not really enjoying right now, so I'm a little bit worried, but hopefully things will work out. But for now, you have secured your ticket to Anaheim and America, so congratulations once again. And with that, Trap will round out our top 8 here in Seoul, Korea. Let's head back to the analyst desk to wrap up Group D.
That's right, after a stressful final series here in Group D, we get our result in the end. Trap is able to move on into the round of 8. Elazer comes that close to being able to close things out, but it is not to be. Joining me, Artosis, we have Tasteless, we have Rotterdam. Guys, that went all the way. We were loud in there, we were shouting, getting crazy about that series, but Trap makes it.
That was getting really exciting in the end. There were a lot of games that were very back and forth. Some very clutch strategies, wouldn't you say, Rotterdam?
I was a fan of that strategy in Game 5.
Oh, yes, I wonder why.
Been screaming for it for a couple days, and he finally busted out in the last game of the round of 16. I thought it was brilliant. It was really cool as well because we're all watching the game backstage, and then suddenly it shows units resources lost, and it's like 84 units went down on the Zerg side and 0 on Protoss. And we're all like, oh, no, he did it really well. That's cool. What a moment to bust out the first double Stargate opening we've seen all weekend long.
I'm going to have to admit, it did sort of feel a little bit like a secret weapon in this series towards the end. It's like, okay, we're down to the wire. Let me try and throw something out like this. But anyway, regardless, let's start chronologically here at the beginning of the series. Talk to me, Rotterdam, about the start.
This hold was sick. I mean, Elazer pretty much did the same build on this map against Neep. Trap took a look at it, and he's like, all right, I think I know what to do. And Artol says, I know that you were a massive fan of those two Oracles. They were covered by the batteries. I mean, Oracles on Ravagers, that's a really sweet, juicy combination.
Well, yeah, that was a great game, no doubt. This game was kind of a funny one for a little bit. I actually felt pretty good about how Trap was playing for a long time. Like, he was on Double Forge for a bit, which I really like. That gateway style that he ended up showing Disco Bloodbath later on. But he did go into Tempest, which I know that Tasteless, you must have a strong feeling about.
It was really funny being backstage and then listening to the pro gamers talk about this. As Rainer was talking about how he loves fighting people that go for Tempest.
Yeah.
That he doesn't think they're good. He said he'd rather be, you know, he would prefer to fight Tempest over basically anything, including Zealots. So I think this was one of the games here was a learning experience for Trap. Okay, what does not work? What do I need to discard?
Yeah, and speaking of one of the biggest fans of Tempest, Rotterdam over there, you love them, right now?
Absolutely not. There's nothing more that I dislike. An expensive tier 3 unit that takes 17 hits to kill an Overseer. No, I'm not a fan, James. But I must say, Elazer played fantastic on Windscape, though. The counter-attacks, those were really key, because Trap was actually playing not a strong game, but the counter-attacks is actually what gave Elazer the victory there.
Yeah, this game on Disco Bloodbath may have been my actual favorite one overall. You know, Roddy and I've been talking a lot about what we prefer in late game PvZ, and I do like this type of finishing move where maybe you have a higher tech unit army earlier on, but in the later game just kind of splitting everything up, prisms everywhere, counter-attacking, killing off multiple bases at once. Really well executed by Trap.
Yeah, I think it was awesome, but I also think it has a lot to do with the start, right? Let's go back to his Oracle control here once again. I don't often like saying that somebody is for sure the best in the world, but this man knows how to control his Oracles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, I mean, with the Oracles and the Phoenixes, this guy just has absolutely impeccable control here. And then we see Trap finally gets that 2-1 lead, and we're thinking, okay, are we going to actually maybe have another Protoss get to BlizzCon?
I love his 3 Oracle control. He always feels like he's going in, he knows that one of them's going to die, but then whilst that one is dying, he's then poking in with like the one last one, even though one is quite low. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, he is so strong at that. And I mean, in this game, we saw a lot of this as well, where it looked like he was actually ahead and he might be able to get a kill off. And then, of course, Elazer jumps up to 81 drones and still holds on and smashes the army. So that was actually a really impressive comeback, in my opinion, from Elazer.
Yeah, it was a great hold. The way that Elazer spread that battle out across like 3 screens almost.
Yeah.
That Protoss army is fantastic if it can stand in a ball and you can babysit your micro, maybe with some War Prism juggling. But Elazer was having none of that, and once again, I think Elazer did that very well.
Out of curiosity with this game and the Phoenix tech, Roddy, I'm wondering, did this work more because it was a surprise, or is this something that a Zerg can be aware of possibly coming?
I mean, the pro gamers in the back were joking, and they said like, okay, Roddy, this can be good against Zergs that don't scout. And then somebody said, do you know who doesn't scout? Elazer. So I think that had something to do with it. I must say, I thought the Blink Stalker follow-up was like a bit crazy, because this is a very difficult army to control, because none of these units are good unless you're actually controlling them, right? Just a moving Phoenixes is terrible, so you need to spellcast, and then also you need to control the Blink Stalker.
Exactly. It did feel like the force fields were of the utmost importance in that situation, no?
That's really hard. That may have looked easy, but there's no freaking way that I could ever control those 3 units. I could make Phoenixes, but that's about it, you know? Like, you need to be Trev to do all 3 things correctly there.
And those are the results here for today. That's the whole of Group D. It was PvZs all day long, and we had Rogue being able to get out in first place and Trap in second place. For WCS circuit players, it was not the best of days, but that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be, Tasteless.
I'm glad that we did get to have another Protoss advance here. Zerg is looking very strong right now, but even in the course of these 4 days, we've been seeing how the other players are trying to adapt. Do I want to end the game immediately? Do I want to try to do some kind of offshoot tech that they might not be ready for? So there still seems to be hope.
Yeah, there's a few days before we actually get to that BlizzCon final, of course, here. And that now we know 100% who is our top 8 before we actually get there. And that means also we'll be revealing the bracket here in a few moments' time. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to a 5-minute break. And when we return, do stay tuned because we're going to have the all-important single elimination bracket reveal to find out who eventually then moves on to become our champion at BlizzCon. We'll see you in a sec. it is time. We're about to find out our round of 8 that are going to be playing live at BlizzCon in the arena there in that single elimination bracket to determine who is going to be our 2019 World Champion. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here as the pro gamers sit in anticipation for where they may end up in the bracket. Fantastic stuff, all lined up, good to go. Guys, you excited? I'm excited.
Oh my God, I just can't wait to see the reaction of these players. As
Like that? You know?
Yeah, something like that.
Most of them will be like, oh, but then Reina will just be
oh
like,
my God, I got Cyril reaction, you know?
Yeah, that one, yeah. That's not the best reaction, I suppose. So how this is going to work, of course, is there are a few stipulations before we actually get into revealing that bracket that I'm going to run down briefly. Basically, there are 2 pools of players. If you finished seed number 1 in your group, you will go into pool number 1. And if you are seed number 2 from your group, you will go into group number 2. And then from there, depending on, of course, where you actually played in those groups, you cannot meet the player from your number 1 and 2 that was in the same group in the round of 8. So if you're in the same group, you can't meet them in that round of 8. And that's basically the proper fundamentals of our rules here before we actually get into things. There are also a few rules depending on how those groups are panned out, depending on your actual WCS points ranking throughout the year for 2019. So with that done, without further ado, we can actually start taking a quick look at how these brackets are going to be shaping up here. And it's going to be coming up soon. I'm excited. We've got a lot of Zergs that are going to be playing here. So, whoa, that's 4 names.
Oh my God.
Already we have...
All right, none of the group winners are playing each other.
So this is pool number 1 that has already been allocated across the bracket so far. Cyril, Reina, Rogue, and Dark all took first place in their groups. And that means now we will slowly reveal...
Well, that means that we don't get another Cyril Rayner finals. I mean, I was getting so used to that.
Yeah, I was actually kind of hoping for that, but down here, Rogue Dark, the 2 Korean Zergs might end up eliminating each other as well.
That is a very good point. A very good point here. So far, WCS circuit up towards the top, WCS Korea down towards the bottom.
Yeah. I just want to see who's on this bracket now.
Gentlemen, we're about to find out Cyril's opponent going into the round of 8. And
Show
the name
him on the camera.
is...
All right.
Show him on the camera.
Oh!
Cyril versus Sue.
Oh, that's smile. That shake.
Not a pleased bunny, I suppose. There we go. There is Cyril as well.
Is Cyril smiling? He is. He's happy.
So, gentlemen, Cyril versus Sue. Rotterdam, what do you think?
Well, that is a rematch of the quarterfinals of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, which was the first big tournament in a while that Cyril did not win back then.
Yes.
And also in 2018, Sue also managed to defeat Cyril twice in Nation Wars back then. So Sue had a pretty good record, but the last time they played against each other, I believe Cyril won 3-0 at one of the Home Story Cups. So it is definitely a matchup with a lot of history, and yeah, a good shot at revenge, I'd say, if you're Cyril.
Not completely invulnerable to Sue is Cyril, when he's one of the only people that's been able to beat him in recent memory. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the players that is dangerous to Cyril.
Yeah.
Right, and there's not many of those in the bracket, and most of them are already spaced across the bracket, so I think it gives us a good first match.
And that's all of our 5 Zergs done for now.
Yeah, and so I guess we're going to have to find out coming up here. Is it going to be Terran or Protoss that's going to come in?
Definitely so. All right, let's find out who Reina is going to be playing in the round of 8.
Oh. Wait for it. Oh, trap.
All right.
Nobody thrilled to be on that side of the bracket.
No.
That's a powerful side of the bracket.
We saw Trav overcome Zerg today, but he's going to have to continue that process if he's going to get further and further along in the tournament here.
Trap survives the group where he's against these Zergs, as you say, and now he has to potentially, if he wants to get to the final, go through 2 Zergs.
I love it. I mean, he was talking about his PvP and his PvT. Well, if he makes it to the finals, there's no guarantee, but there is a chance you can show some of that off. Other than that, it's nothing but Zergs. A tough draw. No other way to put it.
Yeah,
it's a tough draw there for Trap, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess he has a few days to go over how to fix up his PvZ.
You know, it's tricky because it's every time he advances in the tournament, he's going to be exposing more and more of the tricks he has in PvZ. And all these Zergs are going to have so much time to do research and try to figure out, okay, how to counter whatever playstyle he has. So again, it's going to be very tough for him.
They had a good window into his playstyle from today, that is for sure. All right, it's time to move down to the next side of the bracket. Let's find out who Rogue's opponent is going to be down there.
Wait for it.
Rogue
Classic.
versus Classic.
All right.
Classic seems fine with that.
Rogue stoic in appearance. No movement. What do we make?
Yeah, they're being pretty stone-faced right there, but I thought I saw the beginning of a smile on Rogue's face.
Yeah.
Obviously, the other player left is Maru, and he doesn't want to play his teammate.
Don't say yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
So you're saying there's a third race in this game. All right, Maru versus Dark. He's going to be playing the humans. We're going to see how he does.
The humans.
The humans, not the aliens.
Yes.
And we're going to see how that goes. But for all the Terran fans out there, obviously people are really going to be rooting to see if Maru can get further along here.
All right. Real question.
Yeah.
Odds of a Serral Maru final.
Well, it's physically possible with the shape of the bracket.
It is. You are correct.
That's some great analysis,
Yeah.
Faceless.
Wow. Yeah. Rotterdam, what are your thoughts?
The odds?
Go with the odds
Serral
first.
Maru.
Sure.
I mean, Maru is amazing, but 25%, that's what I'll put.
25? I'll take it.
1 out of 4
Absolutely.
times. I can see that being the final.
1001, you'll take it? Yeah, maybe. Overall, a great bracket here, to say the least. I think for a lot of people unlocking here, actually our final fixture in Dark versus Maru is a massive fixture when you think about their 2018 and 2019 performances overall.
And their history, of course. I mean, that was the final of the WSG ones. These two guys, they've played against each other time and time again. They've had some of the most epic series of all time against each other. I mean, that bottom side, like, it's funny when the top side of the bracket has Serral, but I feel the bottom side is more stacked. I mean, Maru, Rogue, Classic, and Dark, come on. Like, come on, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Atosis?
Oh, that is really the peak of Korea is all gathered down in that bracket. So, I mean, if Serral does make a run of the top bracket, like I think a lot of people think, he's going to be playing the best of the best.
Yeah.
It is sort of apt as well, though, that the two WCS circuit players that actually remain here in the bracket are Serral and Reina Tasteless, the two gentlemen that have truly impressed and surpassed almost everybody when it comes to the WCS circuit throughout this year.
I mean, we've got Serral, who is the person who broke the combo of Koreans dominating, but Rainer's so young and so good, and like we've said before, whenever you have somebody that's playing that well this early on at their age, their future's usually pretty bright. So I think we can expect to see those two fight. Maybe we'll have an upset. I don't know.
Maybe they'll meet in that round of 4, the Finnish Phenom and the Prodigy. That would be exciting to say the least. But regardless of what happens actually at BlizzCon, I think overall the top 8 is absolutely phenomenal. Any final word before we head off?
It's going to be a good tournament.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
And that's it. We are done.
I mean, the bracket speaks for us, I think.
It really
James.
does.
I mean,
Yeah.
that bottom side is absolutely ridiculous. There's no other way to put it.
I want to see if Zergs are going to be stopped here. The very first part of this is going to be really exciting. You know, all these pros, they talk to each other, they theorize, you know, okay, how do we beat this? What's the next step to do? So maybe we'll see some really unique play to take Zergs on, because right now, again, Zerg looking like a very strong race, particularly in the late game.
We've got 1 week to combine all the greatest Protoss minds to not make a Tempest. I hope we succeed. I really hope it works out.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. A lot of potential in that round of 8 bracket. Will we see the Zergs be defeated by either Protoss or Terran? Will we see a back-to-back 2-time world champion here on the main stage of BlizzCon? Well, in a week's time, we shall find out. Make sure to tune in for the round of 8. The 8 best players from around the world here in 2019 will go head-to-head to crown ourselves another world champion. For now, that's it for us. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in, and thank you very much to everybody in the back. We shall see you at BlizzCon to crown a world champion.